Welcome to another episode of Witty CFB. Your host Rob Sheply here, and on today's episode, we have Preston from Trash Talk Tailgate joining us again to talk some Notre Dame football, and we're also going to be doing a top 10 head coaching list inspired by an ESPN article that came out a couple days ago. Preston, dude, it's great to have you on, and definitely excited to talk some ball with you, and obviously give Trash Talk Tailgate a big shout out too, and subscribe to that as well.
Yep. So I'm a D1 football coach. I also am the host of the Trash Talk Tailgate, a football show where we just talk about football. That's why I'm coming on here, just because I love to talk ball with everyone. I don't care who you are, I'll talk ball with you.
Yeah, definitely check out their NFL stuff. They do the NFL draft. They do college football. I do some circuits with with different stadiums throughout the country too. So definitely give it a shout out, and definitely appreciate your raw energy and enthusiasm too. It's always appreciated on the program.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me again. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been we've been doing a bunch of different topics, and at least on the show here lately, we've been primarily covering the ACC the past week or so. So I felt like it was fitting to talk about Notre Dame, especially with the news about the USC agreement. As everybody knows, they've played almost 95 times now, which is just incredible to think, especially, a school in Los Angeles, and then a school in South Bend, Indiana, to have this tradition go on and on and on. And it seems like now they're have a 1-year extension now. So I think the agreement goes up until not this season, but next season. And Preston, I just wanted to get your thoughts on what your general thoughts on that agreement is, as well as what your take is on it. Because it seems like to me that USC is definitely a little reluctant to keep this going, probably more than likely because of just the unknown of the college football playoff.
You really want to know how I feel about it?
I knowing you, I feel like we're both going to agree about it, but I just want to know if you're just as passionate about it as I am. Let's say
Lincoln Riley's a bitch.
I'm glad we're going this direction, because I wasn't gonna say it as bluntly as that, but I appreciate you saying it.
He has a track record. So a few years ago, when he was still the head coach at Oklahoma, Oklahoma, they kind of dead in the night with no one knowing. Them and Texas joined the SEC. And everyone in Oklahoma was really excited. And then right before they go to the SEC, Lincoln Riley bails kind of in the middle of the night again. He had that famous quote of, "I'm not going to LSU. I'm not going to be the LSU head coach," after they had just lost, the Bedlam game to Oklahoma State. And he had Caleb Williams that year. And then he hightails it to USC. So he kind of has a track record of this. Like, he didn't want to deal with the SEC and all that entails. And now Notre Dame has kind of kicked his ass the last few years. Remember, when he had Caleb really struggled against Notre Dame. Like, USC and Lincoln Riley, they have a track record of just, they're not a very physical football team. They don't play defense at all. They're very finesse. They're all skill, no real substance to it. Like, yeah, Caleb won the Heisman, but they couldn't even win the Pac-12. And so I just think this is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Notre Dame wants out of this too, although I don't think they do. I think this is really just USC kind of being bitches. And I think Lincoln Riley has a track record of that.
Yeah, because from all the reports I've read, it seems like to me that Notre Dame, their athletic director and the assistant athletic director, said, "Hey, we sent our proposals to them. We're ready to schedule you." Because there's really no incentive for Notre Dame to not schedule USC. And at least to me, it seems like USC is kind of treading their wheels and just thinking to themselves, like, hey, is this really do they really want to commit another 10 years to it? I can understand maybe to an extent not committing for another 10 to 15 years, but you're trying to sit there and tell me you can't commit to this thing for at least another 5. Because, I mean, back to the Lincoln Riley point for a second. I mean, we know he's been running from the SEC forever. And, he was even running from the Big Ten too. So I would have to imagine he's probably shitting his pants when he found out that USC was joining the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But in any event, I mean, Notre Dame has had USC's number for years, and at least from a recruiting standpoint, it's a big game for Notre Dame too, and they've always kind of gone back and forth in terms of who's home and who's away. But I mean, I don't want to scapegoat USC entirely because I do think they've played a little bit better defensively, and they did have some pieces on the defensive line, and it seems like that's starting to get in the right direction, even though there's a bunch of question marks. I do think ultimately they're going to figure it out, though. I just can't imagine the pushback that USC would deal with if they didn't, because I think we can all agree anybody that has two sets of eyes and two sets of ears knows that it would be USC that would back out of it, not Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, this is the thing that makes college football so special to me, and I think to a lot of other people, is the passion and the tradition in rivalries. Like this is one of the best rivalries in the entire sport, USC Notre Dame, because they've been playing it forever. They're two, quote unquote blue blood programs, and it's a huge game every single year. And that is one of the really shitty things about the current landscape of college football is teams are going away from historic rivalries, chasing more money and chasing the bag. And I don't think this is the case with this. I just think this is USC just kind of ducking Notre Dame and Lincoln Riley ducking Notre Dame because he has a history of this.
Yeah, because it does kind of make you wonder, too, even with Notre Dame's agreement with Clemson, like how many more of these kind of agreements are we going to see? Because back to your point about the tradition element of it, I think we're already starting to see the wheels fall off in terms of tradition. Like, for example, if you want to talk about the Big Ten, for example, like I know Northwestern's not as big of a school, but even this year, they're not playing Iowa or Wisconsin for the first time since like 1928 or something. So all those things are like starting to happen. It's just slowly but surely happening, and then we're all kind of just supposed to pretend like, oh, it's just because of the TV deals, or oh, it's supposed to be because of the playoff, whatever it is, kind of filling the blank. And it's tough because you want to find a balance between, yes, we do want to find the best matchups for the college football playoff and make sure that as many teams can, I guess, be in it and be showcased and have the kids be able to live that experience. And that's all great and everything. But at the same time, there is this other part of all of us really that sits there and says to themselves, like even the Egg Bowl, for example, with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Does Mississippi State get their ass whooped almost every year? Yeah. But if they all of a sudden they just stopped playing it, it would just seem wrong to me,
Mississippi State wins that game more than people give them credit for because it's a rivalry game. You never know what's going to happen. Like all bets are off in a rivalry game like that. I mean, and that's the thing that makes college football so special is the passion of these fan bases. They fucking hate each other. Like you brought up the Egg Bowl. I once saw someone describe what the Egg Bowl was, and he said, and I think it's perfect, he said it's just a straight-up knife fight because they just fucking hate each other. And that's the passion of college football. You don't get that in the NFL. And to do away with these historic rivalries like the border war, Kansas and Missouri, the backyard brawl, West Virginia Pitt, Bedlam, Oklahoma State, these are all historic, amazing rivalries that are being put to the wayside for more money and for, TV revenue. And, we need to expand this and expand that. Like, no. Like you said, Northwestern, Iowa and Wisconsin, like, they're not playing each other. Like, come on. I don't know. I don't like where the sport of college football is going. It's sad.
Yeah, because I know I'm the type person, like I'm a traditionalist. I like things the way that they are. So it's kind of difficult for me to navigate this to a degree. But I also understand, like, hey, more people than ever are watching college football, which is amazing. But it's also like, to what cost